Welcome to another week of Radio Melee. It's that time again. It's Radio Melee time. And joining us, you might recognize this player from having the most electric set, I would say, at the Big House 11, and a Marth player out of the Midwest. Midwest? Yeah, Midwest. Who's been making waves and turning heads and all that good stuff. It's Ossify. What's up, Ossify?
Yo, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Ooh,
Happy to be here.
Ossify's voice. Ossify, I like your voice.
Oh, really? I love your voice
Yeah.
too.
I bet our audio listeners, thank you. I appreciate that. I bet our audio listeners are having a great time right now. They're like, ooh. Maybe we'll get Twitch's web calling in this episode. That's another deep voice North main. You know, they could talk about
That'd be awesome.
what it's like having a deep voice and playing North.
This will be an angelic episode to be sure.
Yeah, you're one of those
Oh,
things, PP.
I'm an episode. And on today's
you're
episode,
a Marth player. You're a Marth player.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yes,
Yeah.
I am also one of those.
You're more of that than the other. Yeah. Anyway,
Appreciate
go ahead.
that. Yeah.
Sorry.
We're
Hello.
off to a good start here.
Off to a great start.
Yeah, so Ossify, if you guys somehow didn't know about it, I mean, he had a very close set with Zane at Big House. Very close. He was up for quite a while before Zane was able to, barely. I mean, really, kind of barely turn it around before he, finally had a strong finish. But it was a very exciting set. People really enjoyed it, and I think it really speaks to the potential of this player, the character, and I think a lot of rising talent. So I think it's an exciting time to have you on. And I think maybe just one of the simplest questions we can ask you is, what was that experience like playing Zane, and maybe even what was it like getting ready for it?
Yeah, so playing Zane, I think that might have been like my favorite set that I've ever played, like in my life, period. Like even though I lost or whatever, like that experience is just something so like unique. Um like prepping for it. Okay, so a little backstory to that set. I at Big House 9, I was like one set away from playing Zane. I lost to
Mm.
Panda, and I was like so disappointed. I was like, man, Zane's one of my favorite players. I really wanted to play him.
That was the one he got second,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Big
that
House
one.
9, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, man, I really wanted to play Zane. That sucks. And then at this one, when the brackets came out, I was like, "Oh my god, wait. I I can actually play Zane. This is like super doable." Like I had a really hard bracket, don't get me wrong. Like I had Fishbait, like
Mm.
B-Bats I had to beat to play Zane. But yeah, I was just like obviously I wanted to do my best in those sets individually, like outside of that, but a super big like motivating factor for me was like I have to make it to Zane this time. Like I really want to play him. Um yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but like Zane's like my favorite player. Like the past few months or like year, whatever, I've basically just been like watching his videos, like just studying them. Like I don't know, I try to emulate a ton of it. So yeah, playing Zane, I was like right after I won this set before Zane, the first thing I said to like one of my friends was like, "Yo, good job, you beat B-Bats." And I'm like, "Thanks. I can't believe I get to play Zane. I'm so excited." I'm like, so yeah, going into that set, I was just like, no matter what happens, this is like what I wanted. Like regardless of the result, this is just gonna be so fun. And then yeah, it turned out to be a pretty memorable set, I guess I'd say.
Right. You went up two
Yeah.
games to, I think, his one. At a certain point, what were you thinking about?
You were up 2-0, right?
2-0?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
2-0.
So you were up 2-0 at one point. How were you feeling, then? Were you thinking about, oh, I'm actually, I could actually really win this? Were you thinking about that, or were you just like, all right, well, we got more games?
Uh yeah, I think it was like a little of both. Like I was like, okay, I will try my best to just keep playing the game. But obviously, like it's so hard to keep the intrusive thoughts up. I am up 2-0 on my favorite player and the best player in the world. What is going on right now? But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I was like in a bad spot mentally at all for that set. Like um people were like, yeah, the crowd was cheering and that like that just messed him up totally. Like he started getting owned after that. But I really don't think it was like that big of a factor. It was
Mhm.
more I would say it's more just like Zayn is just obviously the best player in the world and like super good at adapting and like he has that experience of like game 5 whatever last stock like trying not to get upset or whatever like he knows how to stay composed like so well. It's actually incredible. Um that was one of the things I was telling people too, like, I just have so much respect for him to be able, because like, if I was the best player in the world and, like, there's someone outside of the top 100 that, like, most people don't even know, they're, like, 1 stock away from beating me, I don't know what is going through my head. That has to be scary as hell, like, um, so yeah, just having, like, the composure to pull that back and just, like the whole crowd is cheering for me too,
Mhm.
and he just, like, pushes through it, reverse 3-0s me, like, I have so much respect for that guy. Love him.
Yeah, he's really good. It was really impressive. PP, you weren't there physically, but yeah,
Mm.
it was pretty awesome. You know, I mean, everyone in the video was watching. Yeah, it was a huge crowd. I'm sure you saw that like people were streaming it on their phones,
Mhm.
and then other people couldn't watch, so they would look at the phone. That was someone would have their phone in the air trying to record the set, and then they'd look at that phone, and then you'd have someone else with their phone out, pointing their phone at that person's phone to try to pass the, you know, footage of what's happening on, so that people further back in the crowd could watch it, like me and Vish, who are short kings and can't see over 8 gazillion people. Um, well, Students was on a setup watching the Jackzilla stream. That's awesome. Yeah, it was really dope. Do you like that matchup, by the way? Or are you kind of do you consider yourself because I don't feel like I watch you play against many Marths in the Midwest, but it seemed like you were
Yeah,
pretty solid.
yeah, I like that matchup.
Hmm.
I don't really I don't know, I don't have a bunch of Mars that I, like, play super often, but I feel like, I understand it, like, decently well, and, like, obviously that was another part I didn't mention, like, playing him was so crazy 'cause, like, in every set I go into, I'm, like, constantly emulating stuff that he's doing. So, like, when I do
Mm.
that thing versus him, I'm just like, "Wait, what just happened? He's the guy who taught me that. What just happened? I hit him with it?" So, like, yeah, that was a super crazy experience, and then, like, he does the stuff to me that I see him do like, in every
Hmm.
set, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, "That's so cool." Like, he was destroying me one stock. He had the sickest combo, and he was just like, he gets really into it, he does the head nods, he's like
I
and I
noticed
was
that.
like,
Yeah, I went back
"Dude,"
and watched it.
he did it to me, he 0 to death me with, like, a crazy combo, and I, like,
Was that
smiled.
on Yoshi's?
Yeah, I was on
Yeah, I
Yoshi,
remember that.
and I just smiled, I was like, "That was so sick." That was so sick.
Yeah, it was a really cool set. I'm kind of man. I feel like going back and maybe after Radio Mail, I'll go back and watch it one more time. I know there's the recordings up somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, man, yeah, yeah. PP, did you ever? I don't know. I don't know if what it was like with you and like, for example, you and Mewtwo King. I feel like you had a kind of this Marth arc where you started playing Marth, and then
Mhm.
before I knew it, I was like, the story back then was like no one beats Mewtwo King Marth. I mean, you heard it. Everyone said it on every
Yeah.
any commentary involving Mewtwo King playing a Marth. I was like, you can't just beat Mewtwo King and Marth. And then you were just doing it, and I don't know. I just like I love picking your brain about this sort of thing. I always wonder if you had any kind of experience like that, or maybe for you it was just like you were just maybe it was different for you because you didn't start as a Marth main. I don't know
Right. My goal wasn't really to beat M2K in the Marth Ditto. It was just kind of to have
because you were
fun.
already beating him with Falco.
Right. I
A little
didn't
different.
I didn't really need to do it, but then I was like, oh well, M2K. Like if I just like I just picked him a few times because I was just feeling kind of off with Falco. I was like, well, I'll just learn something, and then I
Yeah.
would like go back and watch it because especially back then you had more time between events. I'd go back and watch it. I'd say, oh
Mhm.
wow, he's doing this, and it's like, oh actually this looks like pretty exploitable. Oh, this looks like something I could maybe take, or this is like how I could play around this, and I just started putting things together, and then that's when he started bringing out the Sheik, and then so I was like, okay, well, I was getting the whole M2K, revolution, revolving door of character experience,
Mhm.
and one thing led to another. But yeah, it's I mean, it was kind of funny. I think especially M2K was someone that would do just to kind of give a specific similar thing to Ossify. M2K would do this thing where, Marth can't really cover Marth double jumping to the edge very well, but M2K would like run off and double jump down air, and he was like the first person to really do that.
Yeah.
And so, I started doing that some, and I didn't hit him with it much. He was really good at playing around it, but I came up with like a variation of it where I would grab the ledge first, and then that was kind of my thing. And when I hit M2K with that, because it was really hard to get the edge guard, that felt really good because I was like, oh, I'm taking the thing you're doing and I'm kind of making it my own. And I'm sure Ossify has a similar sort of feeling because when I was watching you play Zane, I actually think it's pretty interesting that you try to say you emulate a lot of the stuff he did because I thought you looked like a pretty different player
Hmm.
from Zane. Not to say, again, you were still doing great stuff. Obviously, I felt like you had a really deep bag of tricks and you were really surprising him. But I thought that was a really interesting thing for you to say. So I'm kind of wondering how you balance that, right? Because you have your own strengths. Zane has his own strengths, right? And so how do you bring out what you think is best while still trying to take from Zane? Like, is that a difficult thing, and especially if you're not playing a lot of other Marths?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the Zane stuff is like I'll try to prep it beforehand, like I'll watch his VODs and then I'll just like I'll implement it in friendlies and stuff and then I don't really have a lot of moments where I'll be like, okay, I have to go for the thing Zane goes for. It just like kind of comes naturally, I think, like from like the studying and stuff, like it'll just come out in the game. And so that's helpful not having to like really think about it super hard to be like, I have to be like Zayn in this situation. I feel like I kind of just have like those things like built up as a foundation already. So I can kind of just like do my own thing as well, like in the game. Um, so yeah, I think it's a balance, but I think we both have I've heard a lot of people say, like, I play like him, and, like, other people say I don't play anything like him.
Hmm.
I don't really know what to think. I mean, I obviously take it as a compliment if someone says that I play like Zayn because like, he's my favorite player,
Mhm.
so but, who knows what's what's the
PP,
real
I'm curious, PP, and I'm sure Ossify is too. What do you think is you mentioned that you think they have some noted differentiations between their playstyle. How do you distinguish them?
Um, I think I think in terms of like the pacing of play, I think Zane plays a lot snappier. At least right now, I think he's like a lot quicker to do things. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different speed. And then I think, especially with the edge guarding, I noticed that the way you two edge guarded seemed very different. I felt like there were a lot of really surprising things that you were hitting Zane with that were like cleaning stocks really early as opposed to like having to go for like longer loops or even safer stuff. That was like working out. That was like really good risk reward, but it was a lot of surprising things, and that's where I really had the sense of this idea of a lot of these tricks. Whereas I felt, you know, Zane was kind of just doing like a very standard kind of thing that he's really optimized and ground out, and you have that in your own way, but it was a little more explosive, especially when it came to edge guarding. So those were the two things that I really took away from it. But I'm sure there are like more specifics if I really went back and looked at it. But yeah, if there's no strong feelings on any of that, I guess I'm kind of curious about. Oh, there are so many kind of interesting things we can talk about. So I guess the first thing, and if you don't want to talk about this much, you don't have to. But um, we'll start now, and then we're going to kind of go in reverse a little bit. If you had all this preparation, you got to play Zane, and now it's done. What'd you learn from it? And then going backward, how'd all this start for you? How did Melee start for you? Because as a new player, I'm sure you've been playing for several years, but it's interesting to kind of see what your journey was like, how Slippy was part of it, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so starting with the Zayn set, man, that's a lot. I learned so much playing him. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about just in-game specific stuff, of course. Um, yeah, I think the main takeaway for me is like one of the biggest thing that separates like the top and like maybe the tier under, or even just like everyone else is like experience and composure. We already talked about that a little bit, but like we were like Zane just played the game, you know what I mean? Like it felt like he almost didn't care about anything else that was happening. Like he was down 2-0 or whatever, he's about to lose. It doesn't matter. I'm still playing the game, like just kill Marth as soon as you can, you know what I mean? Um so yeah, I'd definitely say that's a big takeaway. Like you just have to have composure and like zone everything else out. It's super hard, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to work on that. Uh it's super hard, like I said, but yeah. And then as far as melee, like where did I start? Dang, that's a while ago. So people think I'm like some people think I'm a new player, right? Because like I don't know, the last year's like the main year I've had good results.
Yeah, and for
Um,
people that don't know, this isn't just your, wins on B-Bats or your close set with Zane. I mean, you're doing really well in Michigan, multiple wins over Ginger and KJH and others, right?
yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I don't know, it's so crazy like coming up and like because like I'm sure you guys get this all the time, but like it's crazy being on a show with like two of the people that I've like looked up to for like almost a decade at this point, right?
Appreciate
Like
that.
just been a constant like voice, like, watching you guys, like it's crazy. Like 12-year-old me is like freaking out right now. But anyways, yeah, I actually started when I was 12. It was like 2015, late 2015. I played Smash 4 to start actually, and played that for like a year with my brother, and then one day he was just like, this game kind of sucks. Like, I want to play Melee Marth right now. He was like, I can't double fair with Marth. You can do that in Melee. Like, why can't I double fair? So he ordered a copy of Melee, and then yeah, we played it. And at first I was like, I can't move. This engine is so weird. Like, what is going on here? But then after a little while, we just like started playing that way more than Smash 4. And then, yeah, my first tournament was like a few months after that. Um, it was Sweet 23, I think. It was the Michigan one with Armada.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, I actually mained Falco at first for like 5 years. I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but yeah, I kinda took a break after, like, 2019, like, the pandemic. I kinda just, like I was still playing, but I wasn't entering as much. I just lost, like, I don't know, a little motivation because like, the tournaments weren't, like, IRL and, like,
mm.
I don't know, it was, like I would just find, like, other things to do, like, in my free time and stuff. And I also had like, I don't know, a lot of anxiety with tournaments. I was like, yeah, this is just I don't know if this is for me. Um, but yeah, I would still
I
play
guess
like
that
here
changed,
and
huh?
then.
The anxiety with tournaments.
I don't know if it's changed, but like I've learned how to deal with it better, I
How to
think.
mitigate it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I was a huge net play grinder. I mean, I still am. Like I entered a bunch of net play tournaments and stuff. Um, so yeah, I think
Where'd the switch to
what
Marth come in?
the switch to Marth. I always had like a secondary Marth, and I think so my last like full tournament or serious tournament with Falco was like 2019. I think it was the National Melee Arcadian 2. Um, and I was actually gonna go both Marth and Falco, but like there were people from Michigan that were like paying for my flight, and I was like, okay, if I go Marth, they're gonna think I'm trolling or something. Like I'm
How the
just pulling
tables
out my
turn.
secondary Marth to like mess around. So I was like, okay, I'll just play all Falco. Um, and then after that, after I was out of the tournament, like 33rd, whatever, I played in like a ladder bracket or whatever, and I played like all Marth, and I had so much fun. Um, so yeah, after that, I was still playing both, like here and there, but I focused way more on Marth. And then like earlier this year when I came back to tournaments, I was kind of like deciding between both of them and like other characters. Like I play Sheik a little bit too. But I decided on Marth mainly because like I think I have more fun overall, and I'd always either played just Falco or both Falco and Marth. I never really tried only Marth, so that was like a big reason I kind of wanted to see like how that would work out. So it's been fun so far, yeah.
Wow, I mean, you made that decision at the beginning of this year, and then
Yeah,
not even a year later, you're going, toe to toe with Zane. You're doing having great wins in Michigan. I mean, I think it was a great choice.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Seems like I mean, it really, yeah, you really wouldn't know it. Kind of
Yeah,
look at the way you play. I feel like you do a lot of really like Marth main E sort of things. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, PP, you did the whole Falcon to Marth switch, so maybe that's just a thing. But it is funny, like the whole expectation people have, like you said, that they you didn't play Marth because they thought you'd be playing your secondary Marth or something.
Yeah.
People people do love to make assumptions about that sort of thing.
It's true. There were
and
a
I
lot
mean,
of
you
people
went
who
there and
started.
you had the right experience, right? You had to play your Falco, and it was one way, and you played your Marth, and it was totally different. So it was still, I mean, it still worked out, and I mean, it was still, that money ended up. I think they were probably pretty happy with flying you out there, given how it's all turned out in the end, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It was funny actually. There was like a lot of people that were like telling me like definitely stick to Falco. Like I wouldn't switch characters, trust me, it's not worth it. But I was like, why are other people like telling me what character to play? Let me just have fun. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
but
think
yeah,
that's such a great lesson for people out there too, right? Because maybe they're having their own character crises, but if it ends up being about what's more fun, then that's going to be more valuable than even like these years of experience, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great lesson.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we can get into the community voice and start getting some callers in. I
Sure.
think we have one voicemail. Just a little bit of a, what's the word? FYI. That's the word I was looking for.
Hmm.
The FYI for our audio only guests. As some of you may know, we now have a voicemail line. It's a real phone number. It's there it is, 213-347-5242. For those of you who don't have the time or the schedule or whatever to actually call in during our live episodes, of course, you can literally just call this phone number and ask us whatever you want. And, we're pretty likely to talk about, we try to do like one voicemail per episode. And of course, if you are watching live, we do this Tuesdays at 3 p.m. and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Sorry, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. 3 p.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern. I don't know why I said Thursday for a moment. That doesn't make any sense. It's always Tuesday. But anyway, if you are live, of course, !Radio Melee in my chat and PPs. I'm going to do it right now. And you can join the Discord and just ask us whatever you want in the Submit Topics Here channel. But let's get into the, community voice. We did a practical task on last week. That was somebody else who was at Big House. That's my segue. And
Very nice.
yeah, and PTAS asked about well, we actually had PTAS and Knuckles.
Mhm.
Knuckles wanted people to guess what character in the game PTAS main because nobody knows anything about PTAS. And PTAS, aka Practical Task, asked about basically what type of controller do you use. And we actually did a poll. If I'm not mistaken, our producer Quinn actually did poll the wild world of YouTube and asked you what kind of controller you use. And from the people who responded, we have 12 OEMs, 3 rectangle, 3 keyboard, which I wouldn't necessarily have expected at that kind of ratio, and 2 fob. So, if you're doing the math on that, that's 14 controller players and 6 digital or leverless players. I mean, that is definitely like the highest ratio I think I've seen of a pool of people. I remember, pre-COVID, it was just hacks, right? Who played leverless.
Yeah.
And then post-COVID, I remember I went to my first event, which was Riptide 2021. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, like 5 to 10% of people here are using boxes. Like that's way more than I've ever seen pre-COVID. Like that's so different. And I was like, well, I guess it's only going to go up. Like, the ratio is only going to go at least to a certain extent. It can only really increase. And I mean, here we are. It's what is 6 out of 14? What is that percentage? I guess it's about, I don't know, 6 out of, or not 6 out of 14, it'd be 6 out of 20, right? Because it's 20 total. So that's like that's like a third almost.
Yeah.
So that's pretty substantial.
I mean, and Knuckles was saying that it's even higher in Europe. He was saying it almost seemed like it was about half the players or something.
That's crazy.
Maybe even more. So it's really and I think some of this is due to Nintendo not printing any more controllers and things like that. But it's an interesting time for more people to be getting into the game because we just had controller guidelines dropped. And I was very interested to see if anyone said Goomwave on here because they would have been having an experience. So it's a lot, and it's very interesting to see how this ratio might change in the wake of these guidelines, or maybe new players won't they won't mind it because it won't change how they do things, or maybe it will bother them. I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
And the funny thing too is the ratio of digital players to controller players is the way it is with with virtually no top player representation. Like think about how many Marth players are inspired by Zane to play the character, or how many Falco players I'm sure are inspired by people like Mango and yourself, etc. When Armada got good, we talked about how there's gonna be so many new Peach players now because Armada's Peach. That was like the whole thing in Genesis 1.
Right.
And like box players, I mean, there's like Hacks and like Gatsu and Forest and Zuppy, but like
Pipsqueak was doing really good.
Pipsqueak, sure, Pipsqueak, yeah. I mean, there's a couple obviously really good players, but like there's nobody in the top 10, right? There's nobody in the top 10 that like none of Melee's big stars are playing on boxes. Nobody's like spearheading the movement in a way that's like, oh, I want to do that because of. I mean, it's probably Hacks that's like, has the biggest argument for that. He's certainly the loudest about it.
That's true.
But nobody's going out there and like, it's just kind of wild. Like people are literally kind of playing digital or switching to digital of their own accord, just kind of making that decision on their own, which I think is pretty wild. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the coming years, I guess.
It'd be interesting to see this poll in a year or 2 years from now, how everything's playing out in the landscape.
For sure. I wonder, Quinn, did we get any guesses as to what character Practical Task mains, or did people elect to skip that? Falco, can people hear you? Okay, well, our producer said mainly Falco and Peach.
Now, were those the right answers? We don't know.
Yeah, did you find out, Quinn? Our producer went on a quest to try to find the actual answer.
We did not think to even ask them about it afterward. We talked about thumbnails and we got the heck out of there. So if you guys would have put in the comments who it actually was, if you could dig that up, that'd be cool. It'd be kind of funny. Little continuity there for the listeners. I checked the comments, so I'm curious. You can let me know if no one else. But yeah, this was a fun community voice, a little bit of mystery involved. And
wait, we didn't get an answer?
Our producer did not find it, unless someone in chat knows it, or your chat, or someone knows it. Ossify, do you know?
I looked it up. It says Marth.
It says Marth.
I mean, I would have just guessed. I would have guessed Marth. I feel like that was my guess. I thought it was going to be something that was going to like throw us off, like something really unexpected.
Yeah,
like
Yoshi,
Yeah, like some kind of exactly, something like Link, like something a little bit offbeat. Just because like Practical Tasks, I mean, Practical Tasks is like a mysterious dude in a way that I don't know. What was your guess, PB? Did you have a guess?
Oh, it probably would have been like like a mid tier or something, just because everyone was talking about how out there it was. Maybe he would have been like he'd have had some like secret
Yeah, that's what I was
doc
thinking.
tech or something. I don't know.
Exactly. That's where I was on it. Yeah.
The Smash Wiki does say Marth. We're
It
getting that
says on his
question.
Smash Wiki. Oh, so it's not even particularly well hidden then. Interesting. Interesting.
I
Well,
see.
yeah.
Well,
Is
if
what it
anyone
is
has
then.
any correction for that, you can still let us know. Or if Practical Task hears this and he wants to correct us, he can also let us know. But
Yep.
mystery may be solved. Your guesses were wrong. Better luck next time.
Yeah, Peach is an
Right.
interesting guess. I think that's but anyway, okay, so we have a voicemail question. We did get an interesting voicemail question. From what we gather, it is. Oh, do we not have a voicemail question? I thought we had. Wait. Luke was saying we had one about like points and a referee system and da 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 da.
He
We
said it
scrapping
was
that?
too confusing. It didn't make any
Oh,
sense.
I was excited about it. Okay, all right. We don't have to do it. I don't know. I was down to talk about it.
I mean,
Whatever.
I don't know. We still could.
No,
I suppose.
it's fine. We can't do it. We threw it out. We scrapped it. It's too late. I thought it was a
Sorry.
really interesting question, but the people don't get to hear it now.
All right, maybe we talk about it next week or something. Who knows? But I guess we
I
can go
certainly
ahead.
don't.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and take our caller now on this very organized episode of Radio Melee. Welcome to
Yeah.
the show, Sika.
Sika.
How's it going? Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
Hi, nice to meet you guys. I'm calling in from Montreal, and this is a question for pretty much everyone in here. I like to
All
ask about
right.
losers runs in particular. So they feel like
Okay.
a huge grueling climb against some of the best players, especially at majors. And I'd like to know how everyone here has like managed your energy levels and your expectations while trying to make these type of losers runs.
Great question.
It's a good question.
Also, Sika, of course, a legendary Marth player of your
Can't
own
believe
right.
Sika's here. Love Sika.
Yeah.
I love
Also,
Ossify.
great prominent member of Twitch chat. I will also.
Yeah.
Very true.
Right.
Very
Mhm.
strong. I guess I can at least talk about part of it first. I think this is something that is not something Melee players usually do at events that I've noticed, at least ones that can get into the VIP rooms, and that is I try not to play so much at events. I think that's been really good for my own energy levels when I was competing, because I found that I didn't think it was important to warm up for my next match or whatever, because
Oh,
I was
I always
hoping
thought that was so. I remember this, dude. This always blew my mind. I was always so annoyed that you could just not warm up and then sit down at the setup and play what looked to me like perfect tech skill. How did you do that? Sorry, I'm kind of hijacking the question.
No, it's fine. I think this wasn't just a me thing. I mean, Mango's tweeted about how practice helped him do this too. So this wasn't a me specific tech, but
Yeah, but Mango's always warming up at events.
that is true. He is doing that.
And
He's
most of
doing
the
that
modern
now.
players, I would say, usually are warming up. Like
That's
if you
true,
watch
also true.
Jamook or Zany.
Right.
So you are actually very much, and of course the biggest one was Mewtwo King. Mewtwo King was he had to be playing whatever matchup he had coming up in bracket. He'd play
had
for
to.
8 hours in a row.
And if he couldn't get a person, it was going to be a CPU, because darn it, he was gonna warm up with that character no matter what.
Right. So what was
absolutely
it?
right.
How did you do it? You're like one of the only people who.
I
totally
think it was
hijacking the question.
it was a combination of a few things. One, I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable in every matchup going into it. It's kind of like, when I think about someone who goes to an event and they're like, "Oh, I haven't played this matchup in a while, I need to play someone." I think of that as the same thing as like cramming for a test. It's like, okay, well, I got to hurry, I got to do this. I didn't do it before, now I got to do this. And like, when I think about that, I'm like, okay, well, if we just prepared in advance, we wouldn't have to worry about that. We would just know what we need to do, and then we got to do it. So
Okay.
that's the first part.
Okay, go ahead. I was gonna say a counterpoint, but you should finish your whole thing first.
Okay, sure. So another part is effective practice, which again sounds pretty obvious, but it's just something that really helps me stay warm, stay comfortable. I can do, and if you do it enough and you do it effectively enough, then like in the hand warmer time before the match, especially, you can get used to the setup you're on. You can get your hands as quick as they need to be, and that'll get you going. And then the third thing is, if you really feel like you're just not quite in the right shape you need to be, is I'll do a little visualizing. I'll imagine where I need to be on the stage, or what I want to be doing or certain movements or things like that. And that'll kind of help keep my mind in the space it needs to be in. So I would say those are kind of like the big three for me.
Yeah, I wasn't really asking about um, uh, preparing for a matchup. I just meant literally the warm up part. But it sounds like you're
Well,
saying
that's all part of it. That's all part of it.
Well, when you said cramming, like you're preparing for a test, kind of like cramming for a test. I was more thinking just specifically warming up, but it sounds like you're saying that
I think
sitting
it's all
down at the
part of
setup
it.
and doing the button check, that was enough because of your kind of the practice
Because of
that you
everything
did.
else. Yep. That's right.
Fascinating. Okay, yeah, but going back to the losers run question, it sounds like you were kind of saying that you preserved your energy.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
wasn't playing regularly as part of that, and then if I needed to think a little bit more, I could do a little visualizing. And I tried to, I think on days when we have to play more, it wasn't as common back then, but especially now, I think spectators understand we have to give players the time on the later bracket days to like focus and everything. So you're not going to be talking as much. You're just going to be having your mind in the game, which is good. Switching that back and forth can be a little challenging sometimes. So I think just having your own space is really important. And as for expectations, I don't really know if I have anything else about the energy levels. Although just take care of yourself, right? But expectations, I think. Oh man, this is like a little bit of like it can be a really convoluted thing, but I think as long as you're it kind of goes back to what Ossify said earlier actually. If you're focusing on playing the melee, killing the Marth or doing whatever, I mean, you're not because you're spending energy like, "Oh, I got to play Zane or I got to play whoever or maybe I have like a bad matchup against this person or, whatever, right?" And then, that's a lot of energy to think about that. And you're like, "No, I don't need to think about that." And then you're resisting it and then it's this whole thing and you're freaking yourself out. You're getting tired. You got to have your fifth banana. It's a whole mess, right? So instead, as much as you can make it about the game, much easier said than done. But the more you can do that, the simpler, more efficient you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Osify, your turn.
Yeah, I think a lot of what PP said like made sense. Like I was thinking about that, like the not playing thing for energy levels. I think it depends on like the person. Like some people love to just go, 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 like just keep playing, like stay warm and whatnot. But I also think there is like definitely a benefit of like taking your time and just like, resetting, like not warming up. Like it sounds kind of bad, but like there's so many benefits of just like, going outside, preparing mentally for your matches, like visualizing stuff like in a positive context, like trying to mentally prep yourself for like, okay, this match could go one of two ways. Like that's not the only thing that's important here, like how am I gonna feel after it? Am I gonna be okay like with the result? So yeah, I think there's definitely benefits of just like finding peace like with yourself, like whatever the result might be. Um, I know like Cody, for example, like after a lot of his great losers run, like the Big House one and like one of his summit ones or whatever, he was just like, yeah, you just have to not care. Like if you lose, like you just have to not even think about it. Like no expectations. Like you almost have to be okay with losing, not in a way that like you're not trying your absolute hardest, but in a way that like you don't have to use energy like PB said, like you don't have to use that energy during the match to think about like, oh man, if I get ninth, this is gonna feel real bad, It's just like keep playing the game, like, you know, everything's gonna be fine either way, so just take one set at a time, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah,
good at accepting, like it's like accepting things as they come and worrying about everything after.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah.
just put all your energy in the sets themselves, and that's as much as you can do, and then you can worry about everything else after.
Yeah, and I think something else Cody said, and something I was thinking about while Ossify was talking is if you want something to think about because you're like, oh, I don't want to think about these other things, I don't want to think about these other things. It makes it much easier if you have something to focus on, but even outside of the game. I think having a good time, trying to play your best. Because at the end of the day, if you play your best, you still lose. Like, why be mad at yourself, right? Like, you can still learn and get better, but like why beat yourself up over it? Doesn't make any sense. You can just because if you're always playing your best, you're going to be that much more likely to win. You're going to be that much tougher for your opponents. Your margin of error is going to be lower. Like it's all a lot of good stuff. So I think if you wanted to focus on something, trying to make sure you're doing your best, trying to have a good time no matter what. I mean, that's something Cody talked about when some of his big breakouts, as he was saying, I was able to have more fun. He was able to laugh some during his sets, and when he was able to do that, even if he was making mistakes, he was like, "No, it's fine. I can still come back from this," and that kept himself centered. He wasn't thinking about, "Oh, what if I lose?" He was just like, "Okay, that was silly. Now what?"
Good.
Yeah, talking with Cody in the post winners interview at Big House too, he brought up something that I actually kind of agree with. Like, I think this kind of pertains to like me when I think about it as well. Is I very often um kind of like play better in losers. And I feel like he kind of called it. Cody actually thought it was like specifically a Fox thing or a Spacey thing, so maybe that's why I feel like it applies to me. But he was saying that like him and Moki these days, if you like kind of are looking at like modern players, there are two really big examples of people who like will kind of take a like kind of a sometimes a shaky loss in winners, and then they'll go to losers, and they're just kind of like playing with that fuck it energy. Um, and there's, I mean, certainly there's something to be said for like you're just if you're playing more and if you're the type of player that wants to like stay warm, which I think a lot of Fox players in particular are, then that can really help. And also I think that like in winners a lot of time when you have those expectations like y'all are talking about, sometimes it takes like that one like loss in winners to kind of get the jitters out of your system when you're like
Mhm.
trying to play a little bit too uptight. And then you go to losers and you play a lot more loose. I
Yeah.
feel like that's happened to me a couple times at tournaments where I like take a loss in winners and I'm like, oh geez, I guess I'm gonna do really bad at this tournament. I beat like 4 or 5 people in losers, and including and then I end up like outplacing the person who sent me to losers. Like this has happened to me like so much. So yeah, I don't know. I think all of the above. I do want to echo y'all talking about going outside or doing something like Ossify you were saying, because I think that really helps a lot, especially if you feel upset about it. Like to me, like the worst thing you can do is lose a set and like still be thinking about that set going into your bracket set or something. Like you want to be able to be in the moment. You don't want to be like dwelling on your winner's bracket match or something that happened in the past. Like, you want to be able to be in the moment while you're playing whatever the next set is. So
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
sure.
for me, going outside and taking a 5-minute walk or something, or even going for a jog, I've done that. Like, I think that
Mm.
helps a lot.
Yeah, and I think Cody, remember him saying now, I think when we had him on, he said, sometimes, you lose and you're like, okay, well, I was so worried about losing and now I've done it, so there's nothing else to worry about. So now I can just play. And so, that's the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of double limb
Mm-hmm.
is like, you know, how do you, and, I think that's part of it too. How do you interpret what a loss is? Do you take it as, a chance to say, okay, well, that was that. I'm still alive. Might as well do my best now. I've already lost, or whatever. Maybe because he's worried about his rank or whatever. Maybe he's like, okay, I don't want to lose my rank, but then he has the loss, and he's like, okay, well, I'm still fine. I can still, I can actually still just do this because now I've lost, so I can do whatever I want. It's whatever now. And so I think there is that element of just accepting that it can happen, and then if it does, it's like, okay, well, the worst is technically over. You've already lost. Might as well give it everything you got now.
For sure.
But unless there's anything else, I think this was a good discussion.
Yeah.
And thank you, Sika, for calling in. Any shout outs for us on your way out today?
My shoutouts is just two people. One, Ossify, you're the GOAT, obviously. And my second shout out is Ahmad. He is also the GOAT.
Love him.
So
Oh yeah, that guy looks really good. I've never
yeah,
met him.
so many good marks coming up. So I'm really happy about everyone getting better. So thanks, guys.
Thank
Of
you. Have a
course.
good one.
You too.
Thank you, Sika.
All right. And we got our next caller locked and loaded. Here they are. Returning caller, I believe, Fried Rice. If not, either way, welcome to the show. Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
Hello, hello. Thank you for welcoming me. Yeah, this is, I think, my second time on this show.
Mm.
I'm calling from North Jersey, and I just want to say, Ossify, congrats on the Zayn match. Even though it was a loss, it was really enjoyable to watch and hear about that storyline.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, I just want to start off with like more lighthearted question. So pretend it's Build-A-Bear, and you're gonna create your own custom melee character. So you have your character. You're gonna either choose to remap a move or keep the same move with that of a move of the same command. So like for example, the Marth focus show is like, I want Marth to have a projectile. Let's replace his shield breaker with the Falco laser. Let's see how people like that. So um, with that in mind, what character and what moves would you look to choose?
Ooh.
Are we still trying to keep the character legal?
I think for fun's sake, let's break the game as much as we can.
Mm.
Oof.
Well, I want Fox, but I don't like that Fox's laser doesn't have any hit stun.
Yeah.
So I want Fox.
I also
with
don't
Sheik-
like that.
I want Fox with Sheik needles.
Oh boy.
You thought I was gonna say Falco lasers, but no, I'm gonna
Oh.
go with I'm gonna say Sheik needles.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good because I think Sheik needles are one of the best edge guards in the game.
Mm.
And also they're a really cool way to beat crouch cancel. But they're like almost not broken because Sheik's got a really high short hop. So like, you can kind of react to Sheik like jump like short hopping over your shield and like coming down with like needles and like needle grab or something. But if Fox did that, you can't react to that. So it seems really good. People
Needle
always
shine
SPI
grab.
out of down air, Needle shine grab. Yeah, that sounds broken. I want that. I want to do that. So I'll take Fox with Sheik needles.
Yeah, and why stop there? Give Fox Falco down air. That would help.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that would
There's a
help.
lot
And Falco back air, make it bigger and stronger.
Yeah,
I
true.
remember asking Cody like, what do you think is Fox's like worst move, and he was like saying his nair or something, and I was like, I wonder if you replace it with knee or something, but I don't know how that would combo or like synergize with his kit.
And Nia's a little slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fox Nair is still good. I mean,
Oh,
it's a
sorry,
low
fair,
landing.
fair. Did
Oh,
they say nair? I
fair.
meant fair. Yeah, fair.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, replacing that with knee would be better.
That would be crazy.
I mean, you could just up throw knee. At least
Yeah,
sometimes, or
I
like
was
up tilt
thinking-
or up tilt knee.
I was thinking Falcon with like Marth aerials, like Marth up air at least. You're running across the stage with Marth's huge aerials, up air knee. You give him a good recovery, maybe like Samus up B or something.
Give him the Mewtwo up B or the Pikachu
Yeah,
up B.
Mewtwo up B. That would be a character.
But I think Falcon's up air is so good.
It is. I just think like Marth up air, the hit stun, like it sets up so perfect for knee like almost every time, right?
Mm.
And running across the stage with that, I don't know.
I also think giving him Falco down air would also probably be good. Giving
Yeah,
every
like Falco
character
down air is pretty good.
Just giving every character Falco down there would probably just be better than whatever they have, except for maybe Marth. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Dude, every time I think about questions like this, I always think of, speaking of M2K, he would always talk about the most insanely broken ways to like make characters. Like when people were complaining about Meta Knight and Brawl, he was like, I wish Meta Knight Tornado did 40 damage and shot fireballs that did 20 damage each out of them and had no lag. And
That's
I
like
was
Smash 4 custom moves.
I'm just like, why would you ever think this or want this? But yeah, I feel like I don't know. Thinking about like breaking the game in this way is always so strange to me because I feel like I feel like there are so many ways that Melee almost got broken, and we're very
Yeah.
fortunate that
We're fortunate that it's not.
Yes.
It's close.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And there's so many ways. I mean, and also because if you actually wanted to break Melee, like, the actual correct answer is just really boring. It's like you just give your character rest.
Rest
True.
does help.
It's like
You
Falcon with rest, Falco with rest. It's just like you just, like, yeah, it's we know what the best moves in the game are. Like,
with Falco Laser and Marth forwarding.
yeah, you know, like we know how to break the game. We know what that would look like. So for me, whenever this question comes up, I have to think of some. I like to give an answer that isn't the objective, like absolute best thing I can think of, because then it would just be the same thing every time.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is.
It reminds me of like we talk about Martha and projectiles. I think we were in PP's chat a while back, like talking about okay, what projectile can we give him that doesn't break him too much? And I think Blur was in the chat saying, okay, Mario Fireball is probably still really good, and PP was like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, Mario Fireball, I don't really think it just does very much. So that I don't think it breaks Marth. It's like, but again, if you give Marth a decent projectile, then it's like even giving Marth Doc Pill is already a little questionable, I think.
Imagine every time Mars side Bs, so like when he's recovering the stage, you know, he side Bs to like stall. Imagine it shoots a fireball every time he does that.
Oh,
So if he does multiple side Bs, every time he swings a sword doing the like full side B combo, a fireball comes out.
oh, that would actually be
And
kind
then
of
if you do the downward one, when he does like 5 little stabs, like 5 fireballs come out really
That's
quick.
like the
Dude,
Ridley
that would actually be
Move
pretty
movie.
sick.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick.
It would
And
not be good for the game, but it'd be
it would be
tight.
approaching Mewtwo King territory for sure.
My
Like
last
all
one's
the
gonna
20
go smack.
damage, and they all freeze you in place. Yeah, that'd be fair.
Yeah. Dude, to be fair, like, man, like for what, like when I look at Meta Knight from Brawl, like that's the one character where I'm like, wow, this character could do this stuff. Like Meta Knight actually felt like they designed a character where, you know, he can like short hop triple aerial. That just sounds like a joke. You know, there's no other character whose frame data is anywhere close to being able to short hop triple aerial in
It's
all of Smash.
it's so absurd.
It's so funny. Like,
He
dude,
can
to go back
down
and watch
B and be gone the whole match.
it.
It's
He
so
He
insane.
can just leave. He can just be done with your bullshit.
After
It's fantastic. They
after
shouldn't have
2
banned it.
seconds, he's legally allowed to leave.
He's allowed to leave. Yeah, he doesn't have to be here for the rest of class if he doesn't want to. They should have left it legal. That shit would have been great.
Oh my god.
But anyway.
If Sakurai couldn't make Kirby broken, then he might as well go with the next character that's in
Yeah,
the
I don't know
franchise.
why he never tried to make Kirby broken. I thought the whole thing was he likes Kirby. That's like his like poster
It
boy
might
or
be like
whatever, 'cause he's from.
trying to not be biased, but instead he went
Yeah,
to the
but
next
instead going
character.
too far. Yeah.
Bit
I
too
mean, he
far.
tried pretty hard with 64 Kirby, and then he like eased off the gas, and then he went absolutely ballistic. He was like,
Yeah,
"I don't
that's
like that.
true.
I don't like how that turned out."
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe that's exactly what happened. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for the call, Fried Rice. Any shout outs you want to do before we let you go?
Yeah, I just want to shout out everyone, GG Melee. Enjoy watching the content. Enjoy Radio Melee as well. Also want to shout out good friend June, who's also part of Golden Guardians. So yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yep. And I think that's all for our callers. Since we didn't have a third Toph, I have something else written here that I get asked in my stream kind of often that I thought would be good to ask Ossify real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Ossify, I get this question on my stream a good bit, and people are always asking me, why are there not so many Marts in the top 100 as compared to like, a lot of the other high tiers. Like Mart's really good, a lot of people feel like this is just their perception. Whether it's true or not can be its own thing, but this is their perception. They feel Mart's very good, and they feel like, he's, at least for them, it seems like, the amount of stuff he has to do compared to their stuff. Again, this is their perception. It feels it's out of balance or something like that for them. And so like, well, why is it the case that there aren't so many Marts at least taking up, maybe like more top 30 spots or something like that? And I was curious if, you had an experience, if you had thoughts about this as you've been coming up recently, or what you've been seeing from other Marth players that are trying to improve and why they're getting stuck, what your thoughts about that might be.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of components to that, like, and not all of them are obvious. So like, it's a hard question, but a few things are, I think, a lot of people say this, but like, Martha's in a weird spot where like playing him, you have to play every matchup differently, like quote unquote. Like, um, I think a lot of people don't like how Marth feels just as versus like anyone except Spacies, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
people do not want to play Marth versus Puff or like Samus and whatnot. They don't want to deal with like characters outside of the top 6 or 8 or whatever. Like, I feel like a lot of people just do not find those matchups enjoyable.
Hmm.
So I'd say that's one thing. Another I think is, I don't know how accurate it is, but I feel like the Marth hate or whatever has risen a little bit throughout the years. Like,
Oh yeah.
um, I don't know. I had this tournament I went to recently. It was like a month ago, and there was this person who came up to me, and they were like, "Hey, Ossify, big fan of your Marth. Do you have any advice for me? Like, I'm not super good. Like, I'm an O2er, but do you ever feel bad playing Marth? Because like
Oh man.
I I play unranked and whatnot, and people Spacies just quit out on me if I kill them. So like, I'm not sure what to do." And I was like, man, that that is the worst to hear. I hate hearing that. I was like, nah, dude, you just gotta like, it's not your job to worry about how these people on unranked feel like just like quitting out
Yeah.
on you randomly. Like, that's not your fault. You just have to like, if you're having fun like playing Marth, just like do it. Like, it's not your fault for playing who you like and like beating them or
And
whatever,
winning, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that might be another thing, like, people kind of
Mm.
feel bad playing Marth, like, even on the lower end. I don't know how it is on, like, for, like, top Marths or whatever. I feel like there's probably less of that, but, like, people just picking up the character and maybe on the lower end, like, there's a lot of, like, stigma or whatever. Like, so yeah, I'd say those are probably 2 main reasons.
You
Okay.
feel like you get that more from Marth players than, well, I guess maybe Marth players are asking you about it more, but I feel like there's so many characters that I don't know, on the lower end are pretty or can be pretty powerful. And Falco shooting lasers or up tilts or short up backers or whatever. I feel like there's a lot of characters that you can frustrate your opponents with on unranked.
Yeah.
Maybe Marth players just have a higher EQ, so they're more worried about what their opponents think because they're all empaths. What do you think about that? Marth players are just more empathetic. They're more in touch with people's feelings. I don't know. I don't know.
Could be. Who knows?
No
We'll have
idea.
to do another poll.
Are
Um,
Marth players empaths?
yeah,
The
that's
poll.
the
Marth players of the YouTube audience, are you empath? Yes or no? Don't
Eh,
lie. We will
don't
know.
lie. Don't lie. I mean, for me, like, the whole, I don't know, like the whole that does make a lot of sense. I definitely do know players who have made character switches. I have a friend of mine who's a Zelda player. And at this point has played Zelda long enough that they're just a Zelda main, but I know for a fact that back in the day they told me that they were low key a Sheik player, but they kind of a bunch of their friends played low tiers in their group, and they felt like when they played Sheik, their friends weren't having fun. And regardless of what you think about that phenomenon on unranked, I guess it's kind of a bummer if it's like offline and it's your actual friends, not just people on unranked. And so he felt like he needed to play Zelda to, appease his friend group, basically.
Mm.
And I always thought that was like a little bit sad. I mean, at this point they're just a Zelda player. It is what it is. But yeah, you don't want to feel like you have to play a certain character or not play a certain character just because of what people think about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sheik, no, I mean, I do think Sheik is a character that and Marth too. These are two characters where I think you mentioned like some struggle matchups. That can also be something, right? Like I feel like this is kind of the thing. For example, with Jmook, where Jmook will run into these matchups that are like, pretty hard for Sheik. And I think Marth can kind of have the same thing where like, on one hand, like you get, your nice 0 to deaths on spacies and stuff. But then on the other hand, yeah, you do have some matchups that are like pretty brutal. And I could see like I could definitely see people playing like, if you're like kind of like a newer Marth player and you just like run into a Falcon player that's better than you. I could see that being incredibly frustrating, in a way that like, for me, when I was learning the game, playing Fox, maybe it's just the way people talked back then, which is very different from how Fox players talk now. But back then, like, people were big, like Fox players were they're big believers of the character. So like back then, everyone was, even if you went to a Smash Fest and you kind of got beat by somebody, um, the attitude was like, at least you felt like you were playing a really good character and you felt like, well, I'm always going to have an answer. I can get better. But, maybe I could easily see that for certain characters and for certain types of people, like as you're getting good, if you run into like a problem matchup or something, you can lose in a way that makes you want to switch characters. I feel like this might happen to a lot of Falco players, actually. I feel like a lot of Falco players switch to Fox after a certain, it's just kind of what I observe on like unranked. I feel like I run into, like every time I go on unranked, I run into like 3 Falco players who lose game 1 and then switch to Fox for the rest of the session. That keeps happening to me. Like literally every single, like they're like, oh, Falco didn't work. And then they go Fox and they just stay Fox. So I could see it being the case that there are certain characters where like, you kind of have to have a certain point. You have to like have a certain mental fortitude to like push past that like matchup, like getting hard matchup to where you feel like you're having fun playing the whole game and not just having fun playing certain matchups. Like I could see Marth being one of those characters.
Yeah. I think final question on this Ossify. Did you ever get any Marth hate when you were coming up?
Yeah, I feel like that's like if you're playing for like as long as I have, I guess, I feel like it's kind of unavoidable.
It's just for everyone?
Like, yeah, well,
Hmm.
maybe not everyone, I guess, but it's like pretty common, right? Like, I mean, I've been through, Anthers, grinding back in that day, and
okay. Well, that's all
Yeah.
you had to say.
Well,
Yeah,
Zane
that's all
even
I
had,
have to
Zane
say.
even had stories from like from MDVA locals of like people that he's like good friends with now that would just kind of hate on him and shit on him when he was getting good, because
Yeah,
well, MDVA was spoiler MDVA was like all Foxes and shoot at, so
Mhm.
you can see how that would happen. So I totally could see that, and yeah, especially with like Anthers, like goddamn. When you said that that kind of happens to everybody, did you mean like Marth specifically, or just like everyone who plays top tiers?
Uh, honestly, just like everyone, regardless of character. I feel
Yeah.
like if you've been playing
Yeah.
like that long, then just like there's you can't please everyone. Someone
Yeah.
is gonna hate your character. Like no matter which out of the 26 you play, there's gonna be at least one person that hates that character,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
you'll probably run into them at some point. So
Oh
what are
man.
you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a character that's immune, but no, people complain about.
No, there's no. I
There's
don't
no
think
one's
there
No
is
immune.
one's safe anymore.
Kirby maybe. But then people just make fun of you. Then people just roast you for being a low tier. They'll be like, "Oh, you're a low tier hero. You're just
Mhm.
playing Kirby because that." So yeah, no, I don't think anybody's safe.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's true. I think that's kind of the beautiful thing about Melee is I try to say, I was trying to say like every character main or every character, like their mains have like a unique struggle that like only if you like play that character do you understand. And like people talk about your character a certain way, and I think that's why it's always fun talking to people that play your character, because like you kind of
Yeah.
have those moments where
Yeah,
I
that one.
don't know, like I remember I remember at DreamHack many years ago, it was the DreamHack that Duck beat Leffen. And I remember this was back when at these tournaments, because Melee had the hope of having money behind it or whatever back then, so that we still had those esports parties. And I just remember I was at the DreamHack esports party or whatever, and like I was like in the corner standing around with like a Red Bull vodka or something, and Duck was standing next to me, and then like Plup walked up to Duck, and remember this is the same day that Duck beat Leffen, and Plup just like looked at Duck and he was like, felt pretty good, huh? And then they just had this little fucking Samus giggle moment where they're both laughing, and I was just like, I need to get out of here. You Samuses are having a weird little moment, and I just need to let you do your little Samus thing. But I thought it was really adorable. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's something about bonding with yeah, people who
Absolutely.
play your same character. That
Yeah.
that the rest of that all those foxes that complain or sheiks that complain or whatever, like they can't take that away from you.
So
For sure.
true. And on that hopeful note, thank you, Ossify, for answering the question, and thank you, Toph, for talking about it with us as well.
Mhm.
And
Of course.
there's really only one thing left we're going to be asking for you, Ossify, other than the thumbnail after this. That is the community voice question, the question that only you can ask to our YouTube audience. And surely we're not blindsiding you with this, and you have a great one prepared, right?
Oh yeah, it's great. It's actually the perfect question.
Do we need to stall?
Nice.
No.
Okay.
I've got it. All right, so my question is, what is your most memorable interaction at a tournament that has nothing to do with the tournament or the result, if that makes
Mm.
sense? So like
Mm.
it doesn't have to be like you winning the tournament or like you got a placing you were happy with or you saw Mango hit the sick combo. Um
Mhm.
so my answer for this question is it might not be it's definitely one of my most memorables. It was actually that thing I was talking about, like the tournament I went to a month ago. I got like 7th or something. I wasn't really that happy with it, and I was kind of like sad. But then I walked outside, and then there was this guy who was just like, "Yo, you're Ossify, right? Like, I really love watching your Marth. Like I really want to play like just like you. Like you play Marth the way like I envision myself playing Marth."
Mm.
And that
Mm.
was also the guy who was like, "Yeah, I feel really bad about playing Marth versus
Oh,
Spaces or
really?
whatever." Yeah, but I was just
Perfect.
like, "Man, I lost the tournament. I feel so sad after losing." But like
That's awesome.
that just makes it my day, right? Like just this
Your
person.
words matter, YouTube audience.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's really
that's my
cool.
answer.
I love stuff like that. Somebody at Big House, the guy who's running the controller booth there, which is, if I'm not mistaken, well, I know his tag is geeky. I think the name of his company's Controllers Done Right.
Mm.
But he was telling me he got into controller modding 2 years ago because he watched a YouTube video I made explaining the internals of GameCube controllers, and he was inspired by that. And now it's his main source of income.
Wow.
And I was
That's
like,
cool.
I remember making this video, and I remember I put a lot of work into this video. So I was like, oh shit, like that's really cool. You know, uh, I was like,
You're out here
kind of like,
changing lives, Toph.
That's
yeah, it sounds
awesome.
kind of corny to put it that way, but like,
No, I mean
I
that's
guess
really
kind of,
that's
yeah. I don't know. I
cool.
was like, oh shit. I was like,
Dude,
I mean, that really means a lot. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Curious. Yeah, curious. I hope our audience has some
Mhm.
nice answers. Curious what they have to say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to these. I think this will be really fun.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
we're
great
going to
question.
be looking forward to that. Thank you so much for your question. Thank you so much for lending your time and your expertise with us today, Ossify.
of course, this
Yeah,
was
really fun having
amazing.
you on.
Love to be
Hey,
here.
And
Thank you, guys.
here's to many more tournaments that we can watch you. Hopefully you get your run back with Zane. Can't wait to watch that.
mhm.
One day.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you,
Well, hey, thank you so much to you, to Toph for holding it down, bringing so much energy, insight, and wisdom as always. The callers, the listeners, thank you, everyone. We will be back next week. But for now, this is Radio Melee signing out.